Good morning. Senate, as usual, Senate Democrats are focused on affordability. I want to thank Senator Washington for recently presenting her bill, SB 872, to eliminate parent tax on things like baby bottles, baby wipes, and breast pump supplies. I also like to thank Senator Lewis for presenting her bill, 1017, to eliminate Missouri's grocery tax. Right now, 33 other states do not have a sales tax on their groceries, including our neighboring states of Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, Kentucky, and Nebraska. Eliminating both of these taxes would help every Missouri family. In contrast, the Republican Speaker of the House presented his bill this week to raise sales taxes on everything from groceries to gas, from health care to homes, and just about everything in between. Happy to take any questions, and feel free to inquire of the senators who had the bills they filed today, or the hearings.
I'd love to hear more about Senator Washington's bill on the parent tax. How would that help Missouri parents? You just go a little more into it.
Well, it's going to help with breast pumps and bottles and other things related to that, and it would definitely help if you've ever purchased a breast pump. To get a good breast pump, they're very, very expensive. They're very expensive to clean as well. And so as a mother, and as us being one of the top 8 states in the nation with maternal mortality, it was my mission to not only save families money, but also reduce that stress so that we can make sure that those babies continue to have mothers. So it'll help because it won't be the taxes that are on there. You know, with your sales taxes, you have your state sales tax and you have your local sales tax as well. So anything we can do to help families combat this horrible cost of living that we're going through right now is in the best interest of all Missourians.
How much of a burden is the sales tax on these parents?
Well, if I make $15 an hour and a good one costs me $150, that's a quarter of a week's worth of work week that I'm paying for that. And then the sales taxes, depending on where you live, can rise up to 8 to 11%.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Lewis, kind of how important is it, or like your thoughts on eliminating the grocery tax in juxtaposing the situation where sales taxes might be increasing?
Well, I think it's really important to help everyday working Missourians and give tax relief to everyday people, not millionaires. We've heard from our constituents all across the state that affordability is the #1 issue. Where I live, right next door to Kansas, we have several of my constituents doing their grocery shopping over on the state line, across the state line where they don't have sales tax. So grocery prices have risen 25% since the pandemic. Folks are struggling, and I want to give them relief and money back in their pocketbooks.
Senator Peck, what is your overall take on that resolution, that first step to eliminate the income tax that was heard in the House this week?
Yeah, we're against anything that raises taxes and creates new taxes on families. That's what this does. It's not about eliminating anything. What it does is the legislature can eliminate the income tax tomorrow if they want. They don't need to go to the voters to do that. The voters are being asked to give the legislature the power to be able to tax them on anything they want to tax them on. And that's scary in general, that you could raise sales taxes on, gas like is it currently in there, and maybe it could change, we don't know. But everything that's on there, everything can be taxed, even your home. So it's, the governor made certain promises, but this is not what the actual HJR says. So we're concerned about that, and we don't want to see any new taxes or tax increases.
Missouri AARP came out against that legislation. Obviously, the block of seniors is a group who votes. Obviously, this would need voter approval. But also, there's the shiny possibility of, no income taxes. How do you think this is going to go over with Missouri voters if it does manage to get on the ballot?
So first off, seniors, and I think it's roughly like 41% of the folks don't even pay income tax in this state. So they're getting a tax increase. They're going to get a tax increase across the board. Our seniors, disabled veterans, all these folks that do not pay that are going to get a tax increase with this bill. It's going to shift the burden, just like Senator Lewis said, from millionaires down to middle class and working lower class folks. I mean, that's exactly what is happening here, and we don't want to see that. So in other words, you've worked all your life, you paid income tax, you think you get a break. Now you're going to actually get taxed more as a senior, and there won't be income tax on the other side. So that's troublesome, you know, and these are the same folks that are struggling with food cost and prescriptions, and the Republicans have cut, you know, different programs to help people with prescriptions in this body since I've been here in 2017, you know, and things of that nature. So it's just going to put more burden on people that we represent, the people of Missouri that we represent. So
For anyone, is there a particular tax that you think is the most burdensome on Missourians?
any tax, I think this sales tax would be very, very burdensome. I think it's going to struggle. Look, you hear people say, but when you go to a restaurant nowadays, I like to go to a lot of restaurants, as you can probably tell. But I like to go there in local restaurants, not usually chains, and I go there. But what I've noticed over the last few months is these places are half empty. And it was not the case a year or 2 years ago. It was not the case. They're half empty. So, and we see them closing. We see restaurants in our communities that have been there for years and years and years closing. And putting more taxes onto those things is troublesome, you know. And so I think this consumption tax, or whatever you want to call it, is just a huge burden on everyday people that are just trying to make ends meet.
Do you have any comments on the scuttled State of the Judiciary speech that happened yesterday in lieu of Senate Republicans basically expressing displeasure over the ruling last week?
Yeah, I think a couple things happened there. I think, from what I understand, the floor leader in the House said that the Senate was filibustering. However, we weren't even in session when they adjourned over there. So we need to clear the record there. We were not even in session when they adjourned the House. I will tell you, a few weeks ago, we had a vote to do the State of the Judiciary, and every Republican voted for it. So, you know, if you had a problem with it, why didn't you do it then? It's another looking at a rubber stamp, just taking a vote and not looking at what you're doing. If you had a problem with it, maybe you should have looked at it then.
Well, something that did happen between the yes vote and that was the throwing out of Senate Bill 22. So, like, reaction to the displeasure of the throwing out of that law.
Sure. So, decisions are made by the court all the time. So do we just, shut down, or do we throw a tantrum and decide to shut something down that's been going on for quite a few years? I mean, that's just crazy. Amen.
Would you expect it to get rescheduled at any point, or you just wouldn't have a State of the Judiciary this year?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask leadership on that if they plan on doing that or bringing that back. I'd be more than willing to listen to it, because I think it's important that we hear from not only the governor and his ideas, and also the State of the Judiciary and some of the things that they're focusing on. So,
Do you think that the court is overreaching when it throws out legislation like this for being wide-reaching and not sticking with constitutionality? Do you agree with the argument from Republicans on that?
well, no, I don't agree with that. I believe, constitutionally it was right there in it. Actually, one of our colleagues on the other side, Senator Moon, has been talking about this for a long time, about bills that have their original intent and then changing them completely.
Do you think that'll lead to fewer Christmas tree bills?
I don't know. It seems like they're creating them right now in committees, so it's kind of rough to see. But that original intent, it's hard. I sometimes you would hope to vote on single. I know it's probably not. You can't do that on everything, but it's troublesome when things get changed dramatically from what they were. So.
I think Senator Bratton has said that he wants to see the way Supreme Court justices are picked changed. What is your response to that?
The current plan, and I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know if you want to share, but I'll let the senator share on that.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from the senator as far as his proposed changes. I think that the way it's set up now has worked well for our state. I'd be curious. I know he mentioned his judicial malfeasance bill that was heard in committee yesterday. I think that's unconstitutional, but we'll see what happens with it.
And Senator Washington, she also can. Yeah. If she wants. She's a lawyer.
I think his suggestion is that all judges would be elected, and as someone who's practiced for almost 30 years, that I have not found that had to be positive, because then the judges are beholden to the voters opposed to being beholden to justice and the very foundations of the law. We have the bar plan to eliminate political influx, and to I'm from Kansas City, and we had a guy named Tom Pendergrass who kind of controlled things, and so we have the bar plan so that those places that were mostly affected including our appellate courts, are able to just be judges. And I want them to just be judges. I want them to be able to look at the rule of law and apply that as evenly as possible. We will never all be happy, and that's what makes the judicial side good, is because if everybody's happy, then they're not doing their job. And so I think we should stick to it the way it is. Where Senator Bratton comes from, they do elect judges, and it's not always the best outcome.
Senator Beck, can you update me on gubernatorial appointments? Why are we slowing those down right now?
We're slowing the Senate down, and we can use the term slowing it down, but we're actually looking at things. And as you know, we've discovered quite a few problems to this point on different things, whether it's been on taxes, whether it's been on the gubernatorial appointments. A couple of them were, we had on the floor the other day, were from the same district, and some other things, and not sure what map they're using. Are they using the 2025 map or the 2022 map? So those things are out there. We're looking at those appointments, and we're looking at them in a way that I think is, I just want to be clear, we have not stopped the Senate. We have not stopped the Senate. We are vetting what is in front of us.
Can you just explain more the confusion over the map? I read a little about it, but I wonder if you can just explain that a little more.
Yeah, so there's certain appointments that you have to get one person from each congressional district. And in this case, if you look at the two maps, there was competing people, and unfortunately, one of them was in my district, and would have been a great addition to the Missouri Ethics Commission. However, she would now be in the first district with the other one instead of the second district, wherever the map was drawn. So that's kind of the situation we have going on, and then that was the same case over, and you can clarify, but that was the same case over in Senator Lewis's area. I mean, right now it depends on what map you're using. I mean, Emmanuel Cleaver could be congressman over Johnson County right now. I mean, if you think about what they did in 25, and then you have the statewide elected, so you have the Attorney General saying one thing, and then the governor obviously was using the 22 map, but the Attorney General saying we're using the 25 map. Meanwhile, there's well over 300,000 signatures out there saying, hey, this needs to go to a vote of the people. So there's a lot going on. We didn't create that confusion, Republicans did.
I believe there's a deadline on the approval of the appointees. Are you worried that might not get met? I believe you're sponsoring the appointees, so.
Yeah, what I will say is, I'm no longer sponsoring that one appointee because the governor pulled them. It was unfortunate, but again, like I said, she would have been a great addition. What I would say, they have until Friday of next week, and that is a world of time, as my colleagues can tell you. It may feel like 3 or 4 years, that one entire week. But so there's plenty of time to do this. And also we have offered, some rule changes and things we'd like to see. So we're open to discussions and having these, but at the end of the day also, every option is on the table